All right, we're going to look at CPI and quantitative comparisons. Sometimes we just want to compare our prices over time. When we do that, we're looking at a comparison of two things simultaneously, our price and the year. We also are going to look at things for adjustment in inflation. Our adjustment in inflation is really, really important because it tells us whether or not something costing the same today is or the same as several years ago. All right, so take a second to read through this instruction. If we're talking about our CPI, we need to know what a CPI is. The CPI is based on an average of prices for a sample of more than 60,000 goods, services, and housing costs. So if I only have 10 of something, we are not computing a CPI. We have to have a large enough amount to figure out a CPI. All right, things to know about a CPI. It is computed and reported monthly and averaged for a year. So we're going to take a whole bunch of things that are going to change, and then we're going to say, when I take 12 of them at a time, how does it even out? The CPI is compiled by the Bureau of Labor Statistics and is based on a 1982 base of 100, although we could really pick any year. What that's going to do is this 1982 base of 100 is going to give us part of a proportion to help us out. An index of 158 would mean a 58% inflation. That means this is just like 1 plus 0.58, so 158%. This is a percent number. When we say the rate of inflation is 3%, that's a 3% increase compared to the CPI from a year earlier. So we're doing the percent to percent change. In order to compare prices from different years, we set a proportion using the CPI and price in each year. Take a moment to read example 1 and think about what two different variables we are comparing. So what do we have? We have the movie Gone with the Wind. We're talking about a year, and we're given the CPI. For that CPI, we know the value given to us. Now, we also have a little bit of information in the very beginning of our problem up the top here, that we knew the CPI in 2014 for its money value. So how are we going to put this all together? When we're doing these, we're going to solve a proportion. So we're going to look at our two different comparisons. We're going to have the year 1 and the year 2. In this case, our year 1 is 1939, and our year 2 is 2022. Knowing this, I can figure out some information. What can I compare? Well, on the other side, we're going to compare money and CPI. So I'm going to make this giant table here, and it's going to help me keep things organized because it's going to tell me I want the money from year 1, I want the money from year 2, I want the CPI from year 1, I want the CPI from year 2. Take a second to fill this out and see if you can get the right numbers. Right, in 1939, we had an unknown amount of money, but a CPI index of 13.9. That was our information given to us here. In 2022, we were not given a CPI index, so this was not helpful. But I do know, oh no, it changed it, sorry. In 2022, our CPI index is 292.7, and our value in dollars was 4,001.192 billion. I'm going to put a B for billion. This is a fraction equals a fraction. Fraction equals fraction. This is the definition of a proportion. If fraction equals fraction, cross multiply to solve. So I would have x times 292.7 is equal to 13.9 times 4.192 in billions. And then we're going to math from here, and we're going to solve our x. Remember that our value is in billions, and we can convert that into millions if it's a point something. You should be able to get that number. So what does this tell us? The CPI is an index number. It provides a simple way to compare measurements made at different times. So here we have our two different times, year one and year two. What are our two measurements? Money and CPI. We are getting proportions to figure all this out. Let's consider our chart for example 2. Here, I'm looking at the average gasoline prices, and I have a question. We have our years here, so we can find all of our different places. Our CPI is from 1982, not listed in here, so we're going to have to measure some stuff. We have what our price was per gallon. We have the price as a percentage in 1980, and we have our price index. So this here is telling us our CPI. That's where we're going to find our numbers. Let's look at example 2. On your example, let me double check. Your example is going to look a little bit different than this one. I just want you to see how this one works out. This is an old example 2. You have a new example 2. So if I have a cost of $15 to fill a gas tank in 1980, how much would it cost to fill the same tank in 2010? So I'm going to ask myself, what am I caring about? Well, I have year 1, I have year 2. Year 1 was our 1980. Year 2 was 2010. What am I comparing? Well, I have money, and it says that I have my price index. So that's my CPI. The first question is, can you use this table to even find your information? So what was the cost in 1980? They told us in the story problem it was $15. What was the cost in 2010? That's what we're trying to figure out, so we'll put X. What is our CPI in 1980? That's 100. What's our CPI in 2010? That's 232.80. Take a moment to practice cross multiplying. If you can do this correctly, you understand what you are doing. These numbers are a little bit smaller and nicer than the example 2 you have. That's why I want to start here. Did you get that X was $34.92? When we answer a story problem, we should answer it in a full sentence. It would cost $34.92 for a tank of gas in 2010 if our CPI was used. All right. So looking at the second question, suppose it cost $20 to fill up a tank in 1990. How much would it cost in 1960? Well, what do we have? We have 1990 compared to 1960. We are going to have our cost and our CPI. Can you create your proportion? Take a sec using this table to write that down. How'd you do? Now take a second to solve. How'd you do? Write your sentence. All right. This example 2 will help you for your worksheet. But for right now, let's look at our CPI here. Miss Mahaffey made $20,000 in 1991. How much is that equivalent to today? So we have our year, 1991. And we'll do 2023 because that's what it says. Not today, but we could have figured out today, except for our table ended. So it's important to note that. We want to know our money and we want to know our CPI. Pause the video and fill out this chart using your table. This is from your notes. From here, you're going to cross multiply and you're going to solve for X. Your sentence structure. The CPI tells us $20,000 in 1991 is blank dollars in 2023. The last thing you need to know is you have this little table down here. They should look familiar to the example I've already done, but use that as your guide.